Today we commemorate the victims of a staggering crime. Millions of people stolen from their families and communities in Africa.
These are the three countries voted against Ghana's transatlantic slave trade as a grievous crime against humanity.
All of a sudden, the UN is remembering the victims of slavery and the transatlantic slave trade. So recently, they came out to start acknowledging that actually the Africans were actually sold as properties during 300 years ago. So it means that if the president of Ghana, John Dramani Mahama, did not come out to talk about this issue and to seek for repatriation of the slavery in Africa, so it means those people would not remember or acknowledge that we Africans were being sold out to slavery. Guys, I'm going to be sharing a couple of videos for you all to watch. Please, as you're watching, do so well to like the video. Please share the video and drop what you think in the comment section.
These are the three countries voted against Ghana's transatlantic slave trade as a grievous crime against humanity. United States of America. America still don't want to accept the fact that it is the same black people who built America. So if they go for Ghana's transatlantic slave trade, it means the black people are going to demand a huge reparation. Talk of Israel. It is the same black Africans, or we the Africans, who built Israel because of our religious belief. The Israel that we believe in, that their God has saved the black people, Israel too sees Africa as slaves. So Israel will never allow Africa. Talk of Argentina. Argentina's history is full of black history, but today there is no black people living in Argentina. So we are not surprised Argentina is a racist.
The United States just voted against calling slavery a crime against humanity. At the United Nations yesterday, 123 countries voted yes and 3 voted no. The US, Israel, and Argentina. The resolution was brought by Ghana's president on behalf of all 54 African Union member states. It passed on the International Day of Remembrance of Victims of Slavery. It called the slave trade the most inhumane and enduring justice against humanity. At least 13 million African men, women, and children were abducted and sold over more than 400 years. The resolution called for reparatory justice, a formal apology, compensation, rehabilitation, and guarantees it never happens again. The US ambassador said Washington does not recognize a legal right to reparations for, quote, historical wrongs that were not illegal under international law at the time they occurred. The UK, which abstained, said the same thing. The prohibitions on slavery had not yet been established in international law at the time of the slave trade. Let that sit. The argument is, it wasn't against the rules when we did it, so why should we pay for it now? The US ambassador also said that the UN exists to maintain international peace and security, and was not founded to advance narrow specific interests and agendas. Narrow interests, I guess, being 13 million people kidnapped across an ocean, 400 years, the economies of entire nations built on the labor of people in chains. And 52 countries, including Canada, the UK, France, Spain, Portugal, the Netherlands, Belgium, every EU member, countries that ran the slave trade, abstained. They simply neither voted yes nor no. Ghana's president said it best. All peoples of African descent have been waiting for this day. The truth cannot be buried. 123 countries agreed, and the countries that profited most from the slave trade either voted no or couldn't bring themselves to vote at all. The resolution isn't legally binding, but puts something on the record that took 400 years to...
Today we commemorate the victims of a staggering crime. Millions of people stolen from their families and communities in Africa, trafficked across the Atlantic, and if they survived the journey, enslaved in the Americas. Millions more were born into bondage, brutally exploited for their labor, and denied their basic humanity. We honor their quiet resilience and courageous acts of open resistance. This global order prevailed for over 400 years and haunts our world even now. In systems and institutions shaped and enriched by chattel slavery, in social and economic inequalities rooted in past injustices, and in biases that permeate our culture and impact us all. On this International Day of Remembrance of the victims of slavery and the transatlantic slave trade, we are called to confront these legacies. By rejecting the false narrative of racial difference and the ugly lie of white supremacy, by dismantling racism online, in the media, in schools, at work, in politics, and within ourselves, and by working for truth, justice, and repair. I welcome the initial steps by some governments to address the consequences of slavery, but far bolder actions by many more member states are needed, including commitments to respect African countries' ownership of their own resources, and steps to ensure their equal participation and influence in the global financial architecture and the UN Security Council. Together, let us commit to a world where all people live and thrive in dignity.
Among those that voted against the resolution was the United States. Were you disappointed by that vote? And of course, also, if you can comment on those that abstained, more than 50 nations. How do you feel about those? Thank you.
So I would like to comment on the reasons they gave. They sought to create the impression that the time for negotiations has been short. The President of Ghana served notice last year in September when he delivered his address at the 80th session of the General Assembly. Immediately thereafter, we put together a broad-based coalition, including experts, academics, researchers, historians from all regions of the world, and we commenced negotiations. In the history of the United Nations, this has been a resolution that has gone through so many rounds of consultations. And even the duration for this consultation, each consultation, the standard practice at the UN is that it takes 1.5 hours. We allocated 3 hours, twice the time, and had multiple rounds of negotiations. So there are some that to us, it is clear that even if we gave them 50 years, they would say that the time is not enough. But we can no longer wait. September, we will be commemorating 100 years since the last slavery was abolished. 100 years. And yet there has been no justice. A whole century. So we cannot keep waiting for those who do not want to reckon, who do not want to come to the table with urgency and with acknowledgement that this is a matter that can no longer be swept under the carpet. So we disagree with the notion that there was no time for negotiations. Secondly, the claim they have made that we are seeking to create a hierarchy of crimes. We have stated clearly that it is not about hierarchy. We are only speaking to a historical fact. Never in the history of mankind have we had such a systemic crime. We took over 3 centuries, more than 300 years, with its consequences still lingering onto this day, manifesting in racism, in structural inequality. So we are talking about the contextual framing of what has happened, not about ranking crimes. And we made that very clear. So we are clear in our minds that some are just deliberately stonewalling and introducing red herring. But what is fundamental, which nobody can deny, is that more than 12.5 million people were forcibly removed from the continent. More than 3 million people died, were tossed into the transatlantic ocean, which is a mass grave site. And in our country, Ghana, we are currently, UNESCO has certified that, the country with the highest number of slave forts and castles. We are living witnesses on a daily basis when we go into those castles and forts and we see the door of no return. We break down. My daughter Indiva, on an excursion only last week, broke down and asked me, Daddy, what did we do wrong? And why has there been no justice? I had no answers for my 14-year-old daughter. So we live with these experiences on a daily basis, and we live with the structural consequences. And that is what this is about. All those other matters about ranking, about time, about more space for negotiations, we believe that they are just red herrings, and it is not a demonstration of good faith so far as the pursuit of justice in this matter is concerned.
So one of the key reasons raised by the United States for which reason they are abstaining is the lack of clarity on who is the recipient of the repatriation justice. What is your response to that?
That is surprising because we have, in this resolution, talked about frameworks which we put in place that will take care of the consequences. We all know that the consequences of the transatlantic slave trade has been the lack of opportunity, discrimination, the degradation of people of color. So we have said, let's have frameworks that will serve as endowment funds to support education, to support empowerment, to support skills training, capital for entrepreneurs, and all of that. And we have made clear that African leaders or Caribbean leaders are not looking for money. It goes against our conscience to seek to profit from this. We don't want any payments made to us directly. We are talking about courses to deal with the structural inequalities. And we are also talking about the return of artifacts to the continent. It's all in the resolution. There are thousands of artifacts from Egypt all the way to the Ashanti Kingdom in Ghana. Those artifacts should not be returned on piecemeal as and when those who are in custody of those artifacts are in a good mood. So we have outlined what must be done and to whom these redress should be addressed to. So again, it is totally wrong for a claim to be made that there is no clarity about who benefits from reparatory justice. Okay.
Congratulations on the
Thank you.
overwhelming victory in
Thank you.
the General
Thank
Assembly.
you.
I know you're busy, so I'll make it quick. What message does this resolution, this draft that has now been adopted, send to other people outside Africa right now that are fighting for reparatory justice?
This resolution sends a very clear message that the international community would no longer tolerate impunity, that the international community stands for justice, that the international community and our multilateral system we have erected, no matter how long it takes, the day of reckoning will come. And so all of us as leaders should be mindful of our actions and our policies, that once we violate the rights of others, once we engage in impunity, in acts of injustice, the day of reckoning will come. To me, that is a very, very profound message that the UN is sending to the world today. Let me take the last one.
Stefan Macarabucho in New York. Did you have, in this process, did you have any contact with African-American leaders here in this country, especially in Congress? Did you have any contact?
Yes, we did. I personally met with the Congressional Black Caucus. I met with the NAACP. I met with the NAN of which is led by Reverend Al Sharpton, and I am delighted to note that following our meetings, they all publicly endorsed this draft resolution. The Congressional Black Caucus actually wrote to the U.S. ambassador here to make sure that he votes in favor of this resolution. I'm sure he's really in trouble with the Congressional Black Caucus, 62 congressmen who urged him to vote positively, and he's defied them. I don't want to be in his shoes today. There was also a statement of endorsement yesterday from NAACP, and I also note that a lot of black members of parliament, particularly in the House of Commons, the MP Belle Ribeiro, she has also done a phenomenal job in mobilizing the House of Commons in support of this resolution. So we've had a very broad-based coalition, and we thank them very much.
Does it really mean if the president of Ghana and the Foreign Affairs Minister Samuel Kuzato didn't come out to talk about this repatriation, it means the UN will think it's a normal thing, and those people voted against it? UN, Australia and Egypt, they voted against it. According to them, they said it does not exist and there is nothing like that it's a normal thing. And I've been seeing videos of black Americans protesting against it, that the president of Ghana have no right to talk about it, that they are doing it because of the money. It is not just about the money, it is making it known that this is what we pass through. Let them know. They need to know, because they are forming as if they don't know. They are acting blind to what happened 300 years ago. 300 years ago. Most of our forefathers were forcefully thrown into the Atlantic Ocean, taking away boats like properties, done all sort of, in fact, all manner of things, turned us into slaves, that we are even carrying the white people on our head. If you're not in support of this, I don't know what is wrong with you, because I see no reason why people should be fighting for the repatriation of the slave, and there's some group of people fighting against it. Guys, let me know what you think in the comments section, because this issue is not going to end now, because there are more videos I have to share here, and there's a particular video of what the Maya I have to share. I think that will be tomorrow or this evening. I'm going to be sharing it here for you guys to watch. But first, let me know what you think about this in the comment section, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe.